Every single day, we're surrounded by this invisible world, just teeming with life. And in that world, a constant battle is being waged for our health. But what if you could actually see that fight? What if you knew the enemy's playbook and you knew exactly how to win?
Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're handing you the playbook. We're going to break down the fundamentals of infection prevention, not just as a bunch of rules, but as a real strategy to keep you and everyone around you safe. All right, let's get right into it.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to meet the main players in this whole drama. We're talking about microbes, these tiny, tiny organisms that are literally everywhere, on every surface and even living inside our own bodies. But here's the thing, not all of them are out to get us.
So it's really important to make a distinction right off the bat. On one side, you have non-pathogens. These are the good guys, like the helpful flora in your gut that keep you healthy. And then you've got the pathogens. Now, these are the bad guys, the villains in our story that actually cause disease.
And these pathogens, they basically come in four main flavors. You've got bacteria, these single-celled organisms that cause things like strep throat. Then there are viruses. They're the smallest of the bunch and need a living host to survive. You've also got fungi, like yeasts and molds. And finally, parasites, which live on or inside a host. Each one is a totally different kind of invader.
So what do these little invaders need to survive and, multiply? Just think of it like their survival kit. They need warmth, moisture, darkness, and a food source. And yep, our own bodies often provide the perfect five-star hotel. And that's key, because if we can take away any of these things, we can stop them dead in their tracks.
And that right there brings us to the absolute core of what we're talking about today, the pathogens playbook. It's a six-step process, a sequence that scientists call the chain of infection. And get this, for an infection to actually take hold, every single one of these links has to be connected. No exceptions.
So let's walk through it step by step. First, obviously, you need the pathogen, the germ itself. That pathogen needs a reservoir, a place to hang out and grow, like another person or a contaminated countertop. From there, it needs a portal of exit, like a cough. Then it needs a mode of transmission to travel, maybe through droplets in the air. Next, a portal of entry to get inside a new person, like their mouth or a small cut. And finally, it needs a susceptible host, someone whose body is vulnerable. You need all six of those links perfectly lined up.
Okay, so if the bad guys need all six of those links to line up, how do we win this fight? It's actually beautifully simple, but so powerful. We just break the chain. All we have to do is break one single link and the whole process grinds to a halt. And that is exactly where our power comes from.
And what is our absolute #1 weapon in this fight? It's this. Right here. The single most effective way to break that chain is simply washing our hands. It's such a basic thing, but it targets multiple links all at once. I mean, it smashes the mode of transmission and clears pathogens off our hands before they can even think about finding a way in.
But how long is really long enough? Well, the science is pretty clear on this. You need a bare minimum of 15 to 20 seconds of good, vigorous scrubbing with soap and water. Yeah, that's about how long it takes to sing happy birthday to yourself twice. And believe it or not, that's the magic number. The time it takes to really, truly get rid of those microbes.
Now, besides our hands, we can also go after that reservoir link by attacking germs where they live, on surfaces. But listen, not all cleaning is created equal. So, regular cleaning with soap and water, that basically just removes the visible dirt and some germs. Disinfection, using something like bleach, now you're talking. That actually kills most of the microbes. And then there's sterilization. That's the top tier, the nuclear option. It destroys everything. All microbes, gone.
Okay, another really powerful strategy? We can just physically block the doorways, the portals of exit and entry. And this is exactly where PPE, personal protective equipment, comes into play. You can just think of it as your personal suit of armor against these invisible invaders.
But here's the catch. Armor only works if you put it on right. The order you gear up in is absolutely critical to make sure you're totally protected. So it's gown first, then your mask or respirator, then your goggles or face shield, and the very last thing you put on? Your gloves, making sure to pull them over the cuffs of your gown. That way there are no gaps, no easy way in for the germs.
And you know what? Taking it off correctly is maybe even more important, because that's how you avoid contaminating yourself. The logic behind it is pretty simple, actually. The dirtiest things come off first. So that means your gloves come off first, then your goggles, then the gown, and the mask, which is protecting your airway. That is the absolute last thing you take off before you immediately go and clean your hands.
All right, but what happens when the germs start to get smarter?
Well, sometimes they evolve. They fight back. They become resistant to our best weapons, and that's when we have to pull out some special tactics.
We call these things superbugs, or more formally, MROs. Basically, these are microbes that have leveled up. They've become resistant to a bunch of different antibiotics, which makes them a real nightmare to treat. You've probably heard of some of them, like MRSA. They're a huge challenge, especially in healthcare.
So to fight these tougher threats, we use this kind of two-level defense system. The foundation, the baseline for everyone, is called standard practices. And the core idea here is to assume all blood and body fluids could be infectious, always. But when we know we're dealing with a specific superbug or a really contagious disease, that's when we escalate. That's when we bring in transmission-based practices, where we add extra layers of armor, like special masks or keeping equipment totally separate.
So now that we've seen the playbook and we've seen our counter moves, what's the big takeaway here? It's that the power to stop infections, well, it's quite literally in our own hands. Every single thing we do can either help build that chain or it can be the thing that breaks it.
So, here it is. Think of this as your hero's checklist, your guide to being a chain breaker. Wash your hands, and do it often and well. Use that PPE the right way every time. Cover your coughs and sneezes. Keep your environment clean. And maybe most important of all, just understand how these infections spread. I'm telling you, these simple, everyday actions are our most powerful defense, period.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. You see, this isn't just some abstract theory in a textbook. It's something you practice every single day. Every time you wash your hands, every time you wipe down a counter, you are an active soldier on that invisible battlefield. So the only question left is, which link in that chain are you going to break today?